Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started today. We're going to go on to chapter 28. It'll be our last chapter this year, and we'll start to review after that. The test will be next week. There's 3 sections in this chapter, and we're going to go through 28.1 today and tomorrow. So there won't be any homework today for 28.1. That'll be tomorrow. And we'll just go from there. But test will be midweek, probably Thursday next week. And then we'll review after that. 28.1, we're going to talk about the human body and how it's organized. So specialized cells develop from a single zygote. And a zygote is a combination of an egg and a sperm. So after the egg is fertilized, you have the first cell of the new human being. And that's what a zygote refers to, is that first cell of that new human. And you can see on here, the colored strands are DNA. And so you have chromosomes from the mom and from the dad, and they combine to make one cell. And when the egg and the sperm meet, that's called fertilization. Now, actually, it should be a Z right here. That's how the British spell fertilization, with an S, but it should be Z. So I mentioned the last slide that specialized cells develop from a single zygote. Specialized cells are all your cells in the body, and they have certain jobs to do. And so an organism is made of specialized cells. Whether that organism is a plant, a human, or an animal, they're made of cells that do different things and look differently. Specialized refers to having a certain job. Nerve cells, for example, act like wires, and they move electricity through the body to send a message from one place to another. And so they're going to be very long. Some are 3 feet long. They're going to have wire-like structures to transmit messages throughout the body. And because they're like wires, they have insulation as well. They have this fatty layer around them that acts like insulation around a wire that makes the speed of the transmission faster. And then red blood cells have a disc shape, and this allows them to have more surface area because they can pick up oxygen. They pick up oxygen and then move out waste from the body. Okay, so from a single zygote, you have the first cell of the new human being after the egg and the sperm meet. And then from that, they start to divide into more cells. Those cells start to become more organized into a sphere. And based on the location of those cells, they will become different cells in the body. Some will become nerve cells. Some will become skin cells. Some will become muscle cells. And so based on their location, they will become different kinds of cells. These right here, the ones that are in green, are stem cells, and they can become any cell that the body needs them to be. So the zygote turns into stem cells, and the stem cells turn into a specialized cell, which would be the different cells in your body, the skin, nerve, muscle, brain, etc. There's 2 stages to development of stem cells. The first one is determination, and these cells commit to becoming one cell type. So they're still stem cells during determination, but they're set on one path. And so you have some stem cells that would be for liver cells, and they're still stem cells, but they will only turn into liver cells. Other stem cells will only turn into blood cells. So at that point, they've been determined they are going to turn into only one kind of cell at that point. Before determination, it can become any cell. But after determination, they can only become that one cell that they're determined to be. So that's determination that we see in this place right here. And then differentiation would be actually turning into that certain cell type, acquiring certain structures and functions that would make them turn into one kind of cell, whether it's a blood cell, a nerve cell, or a skin cell. So while zygote refers to a single cell of the new human, an embryo would refer to a few cells put together after they have divided. So an embryo is a very, very young human, a few weeks old. And so there's a few cells, hundreds, thousands, relatively few cells make up the embryo. And as the baby develops, then you'd say that either a fetus or a baby at that point. But embryo refers to a very young human when they're a few weeks old. And the cells you can see are arranged in a ball shape when they're very young. We're going to go through the 5 levels of organization in the human body. Well, actually, not just humans, it also refers to animals and plants. So the first and smallest level is a cell. A cell is the smallest unit of all living things. You have about 200 different cell types in your body. So they include things like skin, blood, muscle, nervous tissue, brain tissue. And they each have their own job to do to make up an organ system in the body. Now, a cell has different parts to it, but those parts on their own are not living. So a cell is the smallest thing you can have that would still be a living organism. You take apart a cell, you divide into its nucleus, its ribosomes, it's not going to be living anymore. The next level is tissue. So a tissue is a group of cells that have common functions. Tissue would be things like your skin cells put together. So if you lift up part of the skin, you're lifting up skin tissue. So it's the same kinds of cells grouped together, and they have a common purpose. And then tissues combine together to make up organs. Organs are different tissues working together. So this picture shows you lungs. So lungs would have skin tissue that line it, but also would have blood on the inside, and blood is its own tissue. But the blood works with the lungs to move oxygen and carbon dioxide out of the body or into the body. So just like cells, organs have specialized functions and they have certain jobs that they do that other organs don't do. And the fourth one is organ systems. These are groups of systems that work together, or groups of organs that work together. And so, for example, you have respiratory system, or you have the windpipe that goes down to the lungs. And so you have different organs on here. The lungs are its own organ. The windpipe is a different organ, but they work together to allow you to breathe. And if you look closely at this cell up here, this cell lines your windpipe. And you can see that these hair-like things beat back and forth. And so those are cilia. And what they do is they beat out pollen, um, anything that's in the air, dust that could irritate your throat or your nose. And so its job is to constantly move things out so you don't get them into your lungs. Now there should be a fourth slide on here I don't have. I'll just do this. I'll just erase this and write the fifth one on here. It should be organism, which would be all organ systems working together. And that's the fifth level of organization. So in this picture, the human body would be the organism, and it includes all of the organ systems that make up the human body. Apoptosis is programmed cell death. And so some cells in your body are supposed to die after a certain amount of time. Your blood cells, for example, have about a 3-month lifespan. And every second you lose about 2 million blood cells. So they're constantly dying, but they're also being replaced as well. And so there's a normal cell death that occurs in the body, and you get almost all of your cells are replaced about every 7 to 10 years. There are a few cells that are not, things like your brain cells, your muscle cells, some bone cells aren't replaced, but almost all the cells in your body are replaced about every 7 to 10 years. Now, in this picture, you can see a very young baby that its fingers are like mittens. There isn't that gap between the fingers. So over time, the cells that make this are going to die so that the fingers start to come out. And so that's programmed cell death, where as the baby develops, the skin right here will die off to make the fingers appear. We're going to go through different body systems. And so I mentioned that a system is several organs working together. And there are 11 major body systems. We're going to go through each of them. So we'll go through a few today. We'll go through the rest tomorrow. The first system is called the integumentary system. In Latin, you might have heard of the word integris. It means whole. And so the integumentary system keeps the body together. It's the skin, and the skin keeps the body intact. It protects the body. It keeps things inside like water and minerals and nutrients, and keeps things out like viruses and pathogens. So it forms the external covering of the body, which we call skin. And skin is the largest organ in the body. A few of the jobs of skin would be waterproofing. And so water can't pass through the skin. Now, you might be surprised to hear that because you know that your skin gets wrinkly when you go swimming, but it's not because water's going into your body. Skin becomes wrinkly due to a reflex that happens. And so when your skin gets wet for a long period of time, the nerves send a reflex that makes your muscles contract and makes your skin wrinkly. We're not exactly sure why that is, but it's possible that you have better grip in the water when your skin is wrinkly. So that's one theory about why that happens. What we do know for sure is that water does not go into the skin. It stays on the outside. Your skin is waterproof. Skin also cushions and protects the insides. So it has this thick layer of protection. Below that, you have fat and then muscles, veins, arteries that are protected by the skin. It keeps out things like bacteria and viruses. Now, on the skin, though, there are a lot of bacteria that live in the skin that are good for the body. And this bacteria eats bad bacteria. It makes the skin acidic. And so bad bacteria and viruses can die off pretty easily. The skin also keeps water inside, and so it's watertight outside and inside. So water can't pass in, water can't pass out. Now, of course, we do have sweat glands, you can see right here. So that allows water to come out at certain places, but that's very controlled. Another job skin has is to regulate body temperature. So skin helps maintain the right body temperature. If we get outside of a narrow range of temperature, our body can't function. So below 85 degrees, above 108, our body dies. And so the skin is able to help maintain body heat by keeping heat inside. Okay, so that was the first organ system. The next one we're looking at is the skeletal system, and that includes bones, ligaments, and cartilage. So the skeleton provides a framework for the body. It also provides protection for softer tissues. So if you notice where the bones are at, especially they're around the heart, they're around the lungs, so they're around vital organs that, even if they were to be damaged, would be deadly. And so the bones especially protect vital organs like that. Down here, where it's not as protected, you have things like the intestine and the stomach that can withstand more hits to it than the heart or the lungs could. It also allows for more movement. If this were also bone right here, then you wouldn't be able to move as well. So this provides some movement, but the vital organs are protected for the most part by bone. Then, of course, our other vital organ, the brain, has a thick encased skull around it. And the spinal cord protects, well, the vertebrae protect the spinal cord, which, if that were injured, you'd be paralyzed. The spinal cord transmits messages from the brain to the body parts And if this is damaged, the signal can't get through and you can't move, say your legs, for example. If this part were damaged, then nothing can transmit below that area and you would be paralyzed from the waist downward. So this is also very well protected by the vertebrae that encase the spinal cord. So I mentioned ligament, and that's part of this system. A ligament connects bone to bone. And you can see on here, a ligament connects the kneecap to the tibia, to your shin bone. ACL is a very common ligament that's injured in sports. And you can see on here, the ACL connects the tibia to the femur. So it's this small band that goes from the tibia up to the femur. And it's easily broken when you twist your leg. You can see it right here too. And so there's a variety of ligaments that connect the tibia to the femur. You can see on here, again, the ACL, the PCL, MCL, LCL. So these are just various attachment points, and they all do the same thing. They all attach your lower leg bone to your upper leg bone. Now, these don't heal very fast on their own. And so many times, if you've torn it, you need surgery to repair it because on its own, it can't regenerate. It needs to be stitched up for it to repair itself. And these can take weeks or even months to heal because the blood supply is not very good to ligaments and tendons. So they don't heal very quickly. And a tendon connects muscle to bone. And so you can see on here, the attachment from the muscle to the bone is a tendon, while ligament is bone to bone. And so on your hand, you can see ligaments. So those are the things that you can see above your bones on your fingers. The next system is the muscular system. So that would include all the muscles. You have about 700 muscles in your body. Now, it depends on the person how many they have. So that's why we don't have an exact number of muscles, because with the genes that you have, you'll be a little bit different amount of muscles compared to another person. So the genes you have will affect how many muscles you have and the shape and the size of the muscles. But you have about 700 muscles in total. So the muscle's main job is to move body parts. Muscles attach to bone, and by attaching to bone, they work together to move things. Muscles maintain posture. You might have heard the term muscle tone before. Muscle tone refers to muscles staying rigid to allow you to stay upright and maintain a certain position. So a baby who has poor muscle tone won't be able to sit up or stand up. The muscles aren't able to maintain a shape that allows them to do that. Muscles are a primary source of heat. So the main heat source in your body are the muscles. And that's why when you shiver, you warm up. By shivering, you activate your muscles, you make them move. And by moving your muscles around, you emit a lot of heat that can warm you up. Just by having muscle, you burn calories. And so a person who has more muscle will have to burn more calories to maintain that muscle. And so that's also why they're a source of heat, because they require so much energy to maintain. You're constantly burning sugar to maintain them, and that emits heat. So a person who is more muscular will feel hotter more often because they emit more heat than somebody who has less muscle. There are different kinds of muscles in the body. There are skeletal muscles, and those are what move body parts voluntarily. And so these are things you choose to move. And when a muscle moves, it contracts, it gets smaller. So if you want to move your arm inward, the muscle right here will get smaller. It will pull in your arm to make it move. So any movement that you do in your body requires a muscle to contract and move inward. The next system is the nervous system. It's all you see in green on here. And there actually are a lot more nerves than this. It's just you can't draw them all, but there are nerves throughout your body and they come in different sizes. Some are quite long, as you can see. Some can be 3 feet long or so and run down your leg. Others are a lot smaller and microscopic, but you have nerves throughout your body. Also included would be the brain, the spinal cord in yellow, sensory receptors. So that'd be things like your ears, your eyes, your taste buds, things that pick up senses. So the job of the nervous system is to detect changes inside and outside the body and alert the brain to these changes. So some nerve cells detect temperature changes and tell the brain if it's too hot or too cold. Others detect pressure changes, and that will help prevent injury. Others detect pain. And these all work together to alert the brain to anything that is changing that it has to respond to. It receives information and responds to that information. So on here, there are two main nerve types. You have the spinal nerves, and these all come off the spinal cord. So all these you're seeing on here, down from the toes to the fingers, are branching off the spinal cord and always go back to the spinal cord. Then the cranial nerves are in your face and your neck, in your head, and they go back to the brain. Okay, we're going to end here for today. We're going to finish this up tomorrow. So 28.1, we're going to do for 2 days. So there will be no homework tonight. Tomorrow I will assign questions 1 through 5 on page 802, but nothing today. And we'll just go from there. Any questions today before we leave?
Wait, so we do 1 through 5 tonight?
No, do that tomorrow. We didn't finish 28.1 today, so we won't have homework tonight.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Everybody have a good day.
You too.